It's weird because, I mean, the whole continent is called America.
As a US national, a Canadian, a North American, and a speech and hearing science student, I want to answer the question, what does it mean to be an American? To answer this question, first we're going to talk about the etymology of the word America, then go into some Spanish and maybe some French. And finally, I have interviewed some of my friends who are from North and South America to ask what they think about this topic. I will include timestamps in the description down below. This is Amerigo Vespucci, a Florentine merchant, explorer, and the namesake of America. He is credited for discovering that America was not India, naming America the New World, as well as recording his travels. The German cartographer Martin Waldseemüller used Vespucci's records in order to make the first maps of the New World. He took Vespucci's first name, Amerigo, Latinized it and feminized it to America. Other cartographers followed Martin's lead. At first, the demonym American was used exclusively for the native people living in the Americas. The earliest recorded use of American in English was in a translated work in 1568. In the 1600s, the term was expanded to include European settlers in the New World. At the time, and as we can see from this first record in 1648, people who lived in the British colonies were known as British Americans. After the Revolution, they dropped the British part and US people were referred to as simply Americans. The first US president is quoted to have said, "The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation." But the word did not have the same meaning everywhere else. In the 1800s, Simon Bolivar called for a united America, speaking to his Latin American citizens. Later in the century, Cuban author Jose Marti wrote Nuestra America, calling for a unified America, speaking about Latin America. Clearly, in Spanish, the word America and American is used more broadly. In fact, the Real Academia Española advised against using American specifically for US nationals. Lucky for them, they have their own word for US nationals, estadounidense. Some other languages also make that distinction between people from the continent of America and people from the country of the United States of America, including Quebecois French, Swahili, Chinese, and Esperanto. Although the majority of English-speaking Canadians refer to their southern neighbors as Americans, some Canadians do have an issue with it. Statistics Canada in the census records people of US origin as other North American origins in their count. In the British Debrett's correct form, he recommends saying the ambassador of the United States of America and never the American ambassador. But let's be honest, in less formal circumstances, English speakers are not going to take the time to say the United States of America all the time. In colloquial speech, Canadians and other people speaking English often refer to US nationals as Yankees, even if that's not completely correct, or people from the States. In Spanish and Portuguese-speaking countries, they refer to Americans often as gringos and gringas. Many US Americans argue that if they don't get the term American, then what term do they get? Well, I sympathize with US nationals worrying about that. Let's first define our terms. American as a noun is used to refer to US nationals as well as people from North and South America. It could be compared to residents of the state of New York and the city of New York being New Yorkers in both the city and the state sense, or people in America, Illinois being Americans in both city, country, and continent. The French Martine Rousseau and Oliver Hudot tackled this issue in their blog post and in a New York Times article, saying that the French ethnonym américain can be seen by the French as imprecise, all the way to in Latin America as offensive. An article by The Atlantic also outlined this. I will link these articles in the description. The same can be said about the adjective American. However, for better or worse, the adjective American in English speak is almost used exclusively to refer to US things.
So there's still all sorts of things that Americans can and must do to show that we understand that climate change is a tremendous challenge that we have to face together, but also an opportunity.
We will roll out the red carpet for our American friends.
Thank you also very much for the incredibly warm and generous welcome that Jenny and I and our delegation have had here in Washington and this great home of the American presidency.
An official sit-down with America's most powerful man and a presidential thumbs up from Donald Trump.
I did sit down and talk to a few of my friends from other non-US countries about their opinion on it. Let's see what they have to say.
Hello, I am Omar from Mexico. So regarding the US citizens calling themselves American, I think that somehow that fits the conception that most of the US citizens have about themselves, or something that they do or where they belong defines them. That's something that, for example, we don't have in the same level. We have it for some other things, for example, for people who is from other states within Mexico, but not from the whole country. So I don't really mind when people from the US call themselves Americans. At first, a few years ago, it used to bother me because a description of that word should fit all the people from the continent. So I think it's okay when they call themselves American because that gives them an identity, and I fine with it, so it doesn't bother me anymore.
I'm from Colombia, South America. So as a foreigner's point of view, I see the word American referring to the people of the United States of America. I don't really care about it. It's weird because I mean the whole continent is called America. So if I call like anyone from this continent American, like it would be okay, but it's not because it's already labeled that way. I mean, I'm not against it because I mean we also use like labels for Americans. We call them gringos. So I don't really see much of an issue with that.
I always associated American with North American people, specifically the US. In Portuguese, we call them Americanos or gringos. I don't think it makes much sense since America is a continent, but I can see that there is a deeper ethnocentrical meaning. They aren't wrong calling themselves American, but they are specifically US Americans. So, what do you think? Should we Anglophones look to other languages to find a more specific word for these USians? Do you have another word to describe US Americans? Statesians, USians, USAians? How do you non-US Americans feel about this? How do you USAians feel? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you next Tuesday.